This is not FUD, everyone. Bitcoin really is at the mercy of the stock markets. And it's kind of like we asked the question, well, what are the stock markets at the mercy of? And it's kind of at the mercy of, and this is what's scary, unrest globally, failed monetary policy, inflation, and the list goes on. And within that uncertainty, Bitcoin is truly entering a new chapter of its story that we haven't been here. We have not been here at all. And this is the kind of the first time that I think it's going to happen. And it's a new season that we've not experienced. And we've been kind of used to these repetitive seasons in Bitcoin. If we zoom out on the charts, everybody knows about the halvings and kind of how Bitcoin is just seeing these bull market highs after the halving and then kind of goes into a correction. Just a very nice model of growth for Bitcoin. But I think we have to zoom out on that picture for a second as we do enter this very unknown season and say, okay, what were we really getting used to there? Was it just Bitcoin, right? Or was there a bigger picture playing into that nice story, right, of those seasons happening for Bitcoin, the consistency? And so here's the S&P 500 index chart. And I just want to reference a couple points on this chart. Number one, Bitcoin began trading right here, right? This is like July 2010 area. Just look at the growth of the S&P 500 index. This is the growth of Bitcoin. If we go to the Bitcoin chart, this is what the chart looks like in a obviously way more gains type of way. And we've experienced that. We've been tracking that. But if we go back to the chart now, it's kind of like, okay, there's more going on here. And that is this. This is the S&P 500 index. And there's more reference points I want to point out. We know when Bitcoin started trading. Right before that was the 2008 crash. That was a huge crash, right? If we go all the way back here into the 70s, there was a huge similar type of crash in terms of traditional markets. And if we kind of reference the foundational crash that many of us know, but we're not around for, the Great Depression, right? All the way back here in the 30s. So we have these huge resets that happened a few times thus far. And we use that for context, I think, at least I do, to say, in terms of something like this happening again, after this growth that we've seen, how will Bitcoin fare in an environment like that? On top of that question, we ask, will it even happen? Will we get such a great recession like we've seen, right, in these previous ones? Or will it be more of just like a consolidation, a quick type of consolidation, a quick type of capitulation like we saw in COVID, right? And this is where it gets tricky because nobody knows. And we can just, you go to Google right now and you can type in stock market week ahead. That's what I did. I was just curious what the experts are saying because it's actually, it's funny to see that it's the perfect picture that nobody knows. Look at the headlines. Stocks ahead for another potentially treacherous week as a slew of retailers report earnings. That's CNBC, right? Here's another CNBC article. Investors could get a reprieve from vicious stock sell-off in week ahead. So this was one day ago talking about potentially treacherous week. And this was 1 week ago to begin last week, right? Investors getting a reprieve. And so that's the fluctuation of it all. The experts don't know. And that's kind of what makes it a little bit scary, which is the fact that when you do look at this chart, and this is the S&P 500 index, we don't know how low things are going to go. But we do know that Bitcoin is extremely, extremely correlated to the stock market. So you can kind of just see right here, there's a S&P 500 index chart. Since Bitcoin started trading. Here's the Bitcoin chart, right? So the growth is there. The growth is comparatively there. And then if we actually zoom in and we actually look where we are right now in this current downtrend, check this out. I've just highlighted a few pieces, data pieces on this chart. March 16th to 29th. This is the S&P 500 index. March 16th to 29th. We go over to a Bitcoin chart. Here's March 16th to 29th. So there it is. There's that nice recovery, right? So, and maybe this is probably over the years of creating, YouTube content, I should have dug into this more. I should have taken more notice. We got way too comfortable in terms of Bitcoin and the cycles and the growth, and we didn't, at least I did not talk about enough how correlated that was to what was happening over here, right? And the reason why it's important is because we need to be prepared for, listen, what if there is a crazy downside from where we are right now, right? And I'm talking about maybe not even as bad as the crash in 2008, but maybe what if we revisit here the 200-month moving average, right? What if that happened? That's like a 40 to 50% dip. What if we go to the weekly chart? Let's just go to the weekly chart, and let's just say Bitcoin gets a quick capitulation somewhere to the 200-week moving average. That's a 13%. Maybe we get a capitulation through 20% down. 20% down, more downside. What that would look like on a Bitcoin chart from where it is right now could be extremely volatile to the downside. And so this is why, as we look at the news every week, week after week, and we realize that things don't seem to be solved in terms of the failed monetary policy, in terms of inflation coming back down. It's going to take a while, right? So if there is more downside on this chart, whether it's 20% or 40%, we have to anticipate the ugly side of Bitcoin. Now, this is the good thing. If we go to the Bitcoin chart on the zoomed out, Bitcoin has plenty of room for this continued story of long-term growth. Even if we go to this parabolic trend line, this lower trend line, a 50% dip Bitcoin into the 15 to 30% or $15 to $20,000 range, there's room for that, right? For continued growth as traditional markets find their bottom, find their way out of this mess and reset of sorts. Now, at the end of the day, I am sitting here saying that Bitcoin is at the mercy of the stock market. I'm sitting here saying, in terms of the stock market, nobody knows what's going to happen. And so the theme of my YouTube channel and the theme of my approach to these markets is to anticipate nothing, or anticipate everything, expect nothing. So I'm anticipating the worst. I'm not expecting that it's definitely going to happen, but I am ready for it. And the question that we should all just ask ourselves as we evaluate this data isn't to predict if it's going to happen or not, because look, these are people that sit around all day and this is all they do. They analyze. They're the experts. They don't even know, right? So instead of doing all of that, what we just need to do and sit here and do is just prepare for the worst, right? And anticipate that it may happen, but prepare your portfolios that it doesn't happen. Prepare your portfolios that in the next couple of weeks, maybe month, things turn around. And that's the other thing, along this potential drop in terms of S&P 500 index and traditional markets, be prepared for rallies, right? Be prepared for these jumps to the upside even before more downside. That's kind of the other thing that makes this a very emotional game, is because if you look at this could be a 10% move to the 20-week moving average for S&P 500 index, nice little rally, and a lot of people are thinking that this might happen. In that world, Bitcoin can be making a nice move into the 40,000s once again before continuing back down to the downside. So at the end of the day, everybody, I'm not sitting here to try and predict what's going to happen. I'm not going to give my thoughts in terms of what I'm thinking will happen. I want to just provide the data and just put this reminder out there that these markets are Bitcoin markets, crypto markets. They are so correlated to what is going on in the world right now. And in terms of Bitcoin being an extremely volatile asset, extremely volatile, we better be very prepared for a very big dip. And it might not happen in a quick manner, right? This might take a little bit of time to get there. So I'm not trying to throw FUD out there, but I think we need to just be realistic, right? It would be great if we zoom out on this. Here's the weekly chart in the S&P 500 index. It would be great if this continues, right? This was pretty big consolidation so far. So if this continues, that would be great. Maybe even just sideways for a while before continuing, that would be great. But look at the state of the world, everybody. Look at the state of the world. And we zoom out, we go back to the monthly chart, and we say, wow, there is absolutely a case for a larger reset on these charts, and it 100% could happen. Will it? We track it every day. We evaluate the markets. We evaluate even the news and what the headlines are saying and how people are feeling, because sentiment is a huge piece, a huge factor to this story. But I do know that Bitcoin has really never been here before. It has not been here before. It has enjoyed the growth of traditional markets. Besides kind of COVID getting thrown in there, it hasn't seen a 2008. And so that's my thing right now is let's just be ready for a scenario like that, right? A more downside scenario like that. So those are my thoughts today as we start this week. And again, as nobody knows what this week will bring, let's anticipate everything, expect nothing. I appreciate all of you for watching the video. Hit the subscribe if you're not a subscriber. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.